I've got quite nice lighting this evening, haven't I? I mean, it doesn't do anything about the fact that I look knackered, but you're not here to look at my face. You're here to hear me. You're here to hear me talk about films. I have just been to see Civil War. This is the latest offering from writer-director Alex Garland. Now, Alex Garland began his career, I guess, with the novel The Beach, which I read, which is very good. And that was then adapted. He adapted his own novel for the screen, and it was directed by Danny Boyle, and it starred Leonardo DiCaprio. And I personally think it's terrible. I went to see it on Valentine's Day at the cinema and just hated everything about it. But since then, he has gone on to do other stuff. So he wrote, I believe, the screenplay for 28 Days Later, possibly 28 Weeks Later as well. And then he went from just screenwriter to writer-director. So his first film, yes, this is a potted history of Alex Garland, just go with it. His first film as a writer-director was the excellent Ex Machina, however many years ago now, I'm not sure, because I didn't see it when it first came out. And he's done various bits and bobs. And this is his latest. And it's interesting. I did enjoy it. I think it is absolutely not the film that the trailer makes it look like it is. Trailers are an interesting business, aren't they? They can be so misleading. So I think the trailer kind of makes it look quite action-packed. It's not. The film focuses on a small group of journalists, or mainly on an award-winning famous photo war journalist called Lee Smith, played by Kirsten Dunst, and the journalist Joe, who she works alongside, whose name has hopped out of my head. I didn't actually recognise the guy from anything, and then I clocked his name on the credits and I've probably forgotten it. So apologies to that gentleman, not that he'll ever say this. But mainly it is those two. They work together. He is a journalist, like a written journalist. She is the photojournalist, and they've obviously worked together for a while. We are in an America at war. So you've got the Western Front, which is a partnership of Texas and California, which is as weird as it sounds. And then you've got the president in the White House, holed up, enjoying, I say enjoying, in the midst of his third term. Yep, alarm bell should be ringing, because you're only allowed to be president twice. Sorry, you're only allowed to have 2 terms as president, I should say. And yes, America is not well. So we start with quite an action-packed opener in New York, where people are fighting in the streets and there's stuff blowing up, and we meet Lee and Joe and see them out in the field. And out in the field, Lee meets a young aspiring photojournalist called Jessie. And Jessie says, oh, she's a big fan. Back at the hotel in New York, they are planning their next move. And there's a discussion between Lee and Joe and another journalist called Sammy, a much older guy. And they've obviously known each other for a very long time. And the goal is DC and the president. Now, from what we understand, you know, the highways, the sort of main roads to the capital, or the nation's former capital, are out of use. Press are not welcome. It's a very dangerous road. But between Joe and Lee, they've decided that that is the story. That's what they need. They want the picture, and they want the final words of the president if he is going to be taken down by the Western Front, which it looks like he is. So this is all the setup. And basically, a car sets off, or a jeep sets off, to head to DC, containing Lee and Joe, older journalist Sammy, and young aspiring shutterbug Jessie. And then it becomes like a road movie. And actually, there's very little action, but it's really interesting. It's incredibly well shot. And it's about these 4 characters, and it's about what's happening in America, and they travel through a town where nothing's changed, and like there is no civil war, and they drive very much giving me like actually 28 Days Later, and also like Walking Dead vibes, where you're just seeing highways just full of cars that are abandoned, cars that are burnt out, there are dead bodies everywhere. It is a 15 certificate film, and it really doesn't hold back on the gun violence and on shots of dead bodies, piles of dead bodies. At one point they come across two military gentlemen, but it's always the not knowing what side somebody's on, and one of these quite terrifying military chaps is played by the ever excellent Jesse Plemons, who is actually married to the lovely Kirsten Dunst. He's literally in one scene, but he manages to absolutely pick it up and run away with it. It's terrifying. You know when someone's clearly bananas but really calm and holding a really big gun? That's the energy you're getting from Jesse Plemons here. He's also wearing pink heart-shaped sunglasses, which makes the whole thing even more confusing. Military fatigues, pink sunglasses, clearly unhinged, really big gun. But he's totally calm. It's that vibe. So he's brilliant, and I kind of wish he was in it more, but he's scary enough in the scene he's in. Nick Offerman of The Office fame plays the president. So yeah, it's a road movie, and it's a look at the role of photojournalists in war. I think for me, what I took away from this was how interesting it was, the access that these people get. Obviously the risks they take to get the photo, to get that image. And when I think of, obviously, it's not obvious. I did GCSE history. So I've seen these incredible iconic images, and I don't think of war, and, you know, I don't think I've ever stopped to think about the fact that somebody took that picture, which is stupid really, isn't it? Somebody had to take it. And these people put their lives at risk to tell the story, to give that information and that up close and personal view of this intense thing that's happening to the masses, you know, to tell that story of what's going on in their country. So that for me was what I took away from it, the access that these people have, the risks they take. I don't want to obviously say how it ends, because spoilers, it's not how I roll, but it's very intense. I didn't mind the fact that it was slow. There is quite a lot of action towards the end, and my god, it's loud. Like, there's a lot of gunfire towards the end. When they do finally get to DC, that's a spoiler, I suppose. They do make it to the capital, which was the point of the film. That was their destination all along, and I won't say what happens when they get there, but yeah, there is a lot of gunfire, and it was really intense and uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And that's me sitting in a cinema listening to really loud gunfire, not actually sitting in a war zone. There's people about to walk past the car, and I always feel like a bit of a numpty when people walk past the car and I'm doing this, but also I love what I do, so, you know, I'll keep doing it, and I don't think they noticed anyway. So yes, it was good. I think the trailer is really misleading, but because it's Alex Garland, I kind of expected something that was quite thinky, even though it's on a big scale with clearly a big budget. Like I say, it looks great. It's really, you know, got a lot of style. The performances are really good. I'll be honest, I've never really rated Kirsten Dunst. I like her in Jumanji, and I really like her in Bring It On, but I've never really rated her as a credible dramatic actress. And I haven't seen Power of the Dog, which I do need to rectify, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And I think she plays Lee Smith really well, sort of jaded, hardened, but kind of warms to the idea of helping this young photographer find her feet in this incredibly difficult job. So yeah, she was good. Everybody in it was good. Very watchable, very interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say a big thumbs up. I saw lots of people die and piles of bodies, which is quite upsetting, but, you know, also that's war. So yeah, an interesting one. I'm glad I've seen it. I may never watch it again, but that's okay. It was an interesting one. I'm always interested in what Alex Garland's doing, because I just think he's an incredibly talented and interesting chap. So yeah, that's Civil War. And until next time, Katie out.